Stocks trade range despite some positive news on the earnings front as the realty, IT and auto leads gains while metal and energy slip in trade today. Street expectations with continued margin expansion and Tata Consumer grows ahead of estimates, but this to their recent run-up. Gujarat unveils a policy for payment of dividends, issue of bonus shares and buybacks by the state's listed entities to reward shareholders. Valuations, but there could be some hiccups in execution. AU Small Finance Bank slips on concerns over margins and shrinking and a reallocation of areas by the gas regulator hurts IGL, but Mahindra CIE gains after posting record margins on the back of strong growth. Hi, good afternoon and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Pavitra. Those are the top headlines that we have for you this afternoon. There's not too much going on at an index level at all. It is absolutely flat, just around 15 points higher for the Nifty. But, we have attempted a move higher. We've at least moved into the green. The mid-cap index is blinking red and green right now. But, it has been the small-cap index, which is holding up quite well. And once again, you're seeing that play out today. So if you see the small-cap index for the week so far, it's already up, almost 2%. That one is done quite well. On the Nifty Bank, you've seen just around 30 points in terms of a gain. So that has also come off a little bit. But the advance decline for now is holding up in favor of the advances. You have around 1,600 stocks which are advancing for around 1,200 which are in the red. So that's how the advance decline is looking. There are stock-specific and sector-specific moves that you are seeing, of course. So a lot of the auto names doing well. The larger auto names, Eicher, Tata Motors, Maruti ahead of its numbers, should be, out any time now, actually. All of those holding up. All of the Gujarat-based PSU stocks doing well. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. On the downside, it is really the metals, and you also have the Bajaj twins, which are under pressure today. Bajaj Finance will declare results today, and then Bajaj FinServ tomorrow. So these stocks also in focus ahead of that and seeing a little bit of a muted move. But that's what's happening with the market action right now. Let's kickstart the show by talking about some important stocks in news. Bajaj Auto is in focus after the company reported a strong set of fourth quarter earnings. So we saw a beat across parameters. In fact, the margins have come in at a 9-quarter high at over 19%. So we spoke with Bajaj Auto's Executive Director Rakesh Sharma on the numbers as well as outlook going forward. So let's listen in to what he had to tell us.
Improvement in margins is really on account of three things. One is, of course, we've benefited from the gentle devaluation of the Indian rupee, though the export component has come down, but that's helpful. Then all the cost increases which we have faced, which are not too much, but there are some incidences of cost even on account of the changeover to things like OBD2, though it was very recent. But the approach has been to judicially pass these on. And the third factor has been actually the most significant one, which is the richer mix. We are now, 60% of our domestic business is in the 125cc plus segment. The three-wheeler business has done extremely well with a commanding market share of 78%. And CNG auto is one of our most profitable products. As you understand, the Bajaj Auto margin is a very complex thing, a lot of moving parts there. For instance, if suddenly see a surge in Africa exports, Africa is generally less than the average. But if we see a surge in the three-wheeler side in exports, then that is at a very handsome margin. So where the where the penny will exactly fall is difficult to say. But this is the point we'll be striving to maintain.
All right, that is the Bajaj Auto management also saying that they can maintain margins at these higher levels. The stock is seeing some profit booking, but that's, of course, after it has already run up around 22% for the year. But the big story that we're tracking today is that Gujarat PSU stocks, all of them are really surging in trade after the state announced a new policy for minimum dividend distribution as well as bonus issues. So Sonal is here with the latest on this. Sonal?
First of all, the story that Gujarat government, they have gone ahead and laid out some policies as to what the state-owned PSUs would do in terms of rewarding the shareholders. This is the minimum levels of dividend distribution and bonus shares as well. So first with the dividend, where they will be allowed to pay, or they'll be asked to pay minimum of 30% of PAT or 5% of their net worth, whichever is higher, as dividend to the shareholders. It has to be between the range of the minimum and maximum dividend they can pay out to the shareholders. In terms of buyback, a PSU that has a net worth of at least 2,000 crore rupees and cash and bank balance of 1,000 crore rupees should go ahead and buy back some shares from the market. In terms of bonus shares, if a company has reserves and surplus equal to or more than 10 times of the paid up equity share capital of their company, in that case they should go ahead and issue bonus shares as well, and this is something which is applicable to all the 7 listed entities as well. Share split will be done if the market price or book value exceeds 50 times of its value as well. So there are 7 entities, of course, which are listed, the likes of GNFC, GSFC, Gujarat State Petronet Limited. The list will come up for you on the screen. All of them are higher in trade today. I just looked at some of these numbers on FY22 basis to see whether most of them can actually meet the criteria or not. Starting with Gujarat Gas, that has a FY22 profit of 1,300 crore rupees, net worth of 5,600 crore rupees, but cash is on the lower side. So they can pay 5% of net worth at 280 crore rupees, 30% of PAT at 386 crore rupees, which is the higher number, but lower cash right now. But going ahead, they expect higher cash in the books. GNFC will be able to meet criteria across because they have higher cash levels. They will be able to pay out dividend at those levels, and net worth is also higher, so they can actually go ahead and do a buyback. GSFC has cash of around 315 crore rupees. It has holdings in a lot of other listed Gujarat-based entities as well. They have a PAT number of around 900 crore rupees. Gujarat Alkalis and Chemicals, they will be able to pay 5% of net worth, which is 300 crore rupees, 30% of PAT, which is 168 crore rupees, and they do have cash in their books to the tune of 300 crore rupees. GSPL is the other one, after GMDC, of course. GMDC has cash of around 1,200 crore rupees. Even they will be able to go ahead and do a buyback because net worth is higher than 2,000 crore rupees and cash is higher than 1,000 crore rupees. For GSPL, if we look at that, they have a cash of 562 crore rupees. While they cannot go ahead and do a buyback, the dividend policy will be in favor of the shareholders. Just looking at some of the dividend payouts they have done, it's been between 9 to 13% across the board for all the companies that I just mentioned. So there will be improvement in some of them, and that is something maybe that the shareholders are liking. But important to note, not all of them have enough cash in their books, and not all of them can go ahead and do a buyback because the cash in books are not above that 1,000 crore mark. So yes, GNFC is the one where shareholders will benefit the most, because it actually sees criteria across the board. GMDC can go ahead and do a buyback like GNFC, and all the companies can actually go ahead and issue bonus shares according to the criteria.
All right, Sonal, thanks a lot for getting us all of the details. So these stocks jumping anywhere between 7 to 20%. So you're seeing a big move come through on many of these names. So with that, let's also get you an important word on the markets. This is from Mihir Vora, Director and Chief Investment Officer at Max Life Insurance, on the markets, where they could be headed, as well as some of the sectors that he likes right now. Listen in.
Autos, I would say it's still a mixed bag. While we see some amount of pent-up and low base effect in the two-wheeler segment, the passenger vehicles, which is the car segment, still is a question mark. We'll need to see this month's number. And initial indications are that there is some slowdown in the overall discretionary spend, whether it's in auto or even some segments. So I'm a little bit cautious about consumptions compared to, say, a couple of months ago. Pharma, our preference is more towards the domestic market, because that's where you have some pricing power and branding benefits, distribution benefits. As far as the US market is concerned, the call every year is whether the worst of the generic price erosion is over. And while we have seen some moderation in the rate of decline, which is decline in the rate of decline, but it's too early to say whether the worst is over. We are still probably not past the sharpest US recession quarter. So you might see some more deceleration in US corporate spending, retail spending, etc. So maybe things get a little bit worse before they get better. So I would be more cautious on US tech spending and by corollary the Indian IT services space.
All right, that is the word coming in on the markets. But with that, it is time for a break on the show. Our first one here. But on the other side, we're going to get you a peek at India's first water metro that was launched in Kerala just yesterday. Stay tuned.
What? You think I am slow? I am slow. I'm a tortoise. But your wealth managers, they shouldn't be as slow, you know? No? Oh.
Choose Nuvama. We move at the right pace because we only do what's right for you and your money. Nuvama. Let's do it right.
तेरी रोशनी हूं मैं, किस ना।
AC gone.
Blue Star on.
Blue Star fast cool inverter AC with voice command. Bye-bye heat. Blue Star.
Mankind Pharma Limited now makes an initial public offer of equity shares of face value 1 rupee each for cash at a premium. The 100% book-built offer being offered in a price band of 1026 rupees to 1080 rupees per equity share. Opens on 25th April 2023 and closes on 27th April 2023. For risk factors and more details, refer to the red herring prospectus.
Hey, buddy. Hope you like them.
Introducing Apollo Alpha. Add more thrill to your beast.
अभी तक मटेरियल आया नहीं? पैसे नहीं है। अच्छा।
यूप्रो कैपिटल का ग्रोएक्स ऐप है ना, अब आपको भी मिल सकती है नॉन स्टॉप बिजनेस करने की आजादी।
इतनी जल्दी?
Welcome back. In yet another untoward incident, the World Health Organization has issued an alert for contaminated cough syrup made in India by a Punjab-based company called QP Pharma Chem. Ekta is here with more on this. Ekta, this is definitely not the first such instance that we're seeing.
Thanks for that. Well, yes, in the third instance in less than a year, the World Health Organization has put out another medical product alert on a cough syrup manufactured by an Indian company. The WHO, in its latest press release, has issued an alert on a cough syrup, guafenicin syrup, TG, indicating it is substandard or contaminated with unacceptable levels of diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. The syrup is manufactured by Punjab-based QP Pharma Chem and marketed by Haryana-based Trillium Pharma. The cough syrup was identified in Marshall Islands and Micronesia and analysed by the Australian drug regulators, the Therapeutic Goods Administration or TGA of Australia. As of now, the WHO has not reported any adverse events with the cough syrup manufactured by QP Pharma Chem. To recap, Made in Pharma's cough syrup was linked to the death of over 65 children in Gambia, though the Indian government has refuted the allegations, and Marion Biotech's cough syrups was linked to the death of 18 children in Uzbekistan. This instance, however, revisits the concerns around the supply chain. After Made in Pharma and Marion Biotech, this is the third instance in the past 6 to 7 months that an Indian company has allegedly used ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol in manufacturing of cough syrups. Remember, ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol are colorless, odorless, sweetish tasting substances which are mostly used for industrial purposes. The two substances can be toxic if there is any contamination to the pharma grade and if it is consumed beyond recommended levels. The lack of compliance, lax manufacturing practices by smaller companies, and the need to cut costs by substituting inputs with lower costing raw materials are some of the reasons DEG has been used by Indian companies. Experts say there is no doubt these instances will dent India's reputation as the pharmacy of the world. However, the government is taking note. In its latest crackdown, the government had cancelled licenses of 18 pharma companies allegedly manufacturing spurious drugs, and as many as 76 pharma companies were inspected across the country by state and central drug regulators.
All right, Ekta, thanks a lot for getting us all of these details. Like Ekta was pointing out, this is the third company that the World Health Organization has flagged off for its cough syrup, which is made in India. But with that, let's move on and bring you some more important news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi yesterday inaugurated the first phase of the Kerala Water Metro project. So my colleague Danish Anand got a chance to hop on to the Water Metro on its first day of inauguration. Let's check out that special report.
After Vande Bharat, PM Narendra Modi inaugurated India's first ever water metro, and we're on board the Kochi water metro right now. And this is from where this electric boat, that is the water metro, is being controlled. Well, the entire intention is to connect the 10 islands in and around Kochi. And now, once we step in, we'll come to know why is this being called the water metro. So as soon as you step inside, the entire look and feel and the theme will remind you of a normal metro which is running in different cities across the country. Telling you more about the water metro, well, the many unique things about the water metro, and the biggest objective and the biggest intention behind this is to have a high energy efficient boat which has a low carbon footprint. Moreover, this is the first phase of water metro that has been kicked off by PM Modi. Water metro is being controlled by Kochi Metro, and it is anticipated that in the first phase there will be a daily ridership of around 34,000 passengers. There will be 15 routes, and the entire route length will be 76 kilometers long. And in the long run, Kochi Water Metro intends to have at least 78 boats and 38 terminals. And telling you more about this electric boat, well, this is something to be proud of, because this is a Make in India initiative, and this has been manufactured and built by a Cochin shipyard. And this is an electric boat which is powered by a lithium titanate battery which has a capacity of 122 kilowatts, and this can be charged 20 to 80% within 15 to 20 minutes with super fast chargers.
All right, Danish, thanks a lot for that. That is the first look at the water metro inaugurated in Kerala. But on to another important national development that we are tracking. Wrestlers continue their protest for the fourth day at Delhi's Jantar Mantar area. Several national award-winning wrestlers have been protesting and demanding that the government make public the findings of the oversight panel that investigated the sexual harassment allegations against Wrestling Federation of India President Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. So the Supreme Court will now hear the matter on the 28th of April, that's the day after tomorrow, and has issued a notice to the Delhi police on the petition filed by several women wrestlers seeking an FIR against Brij Bhushan. So that is an important story. We will keep bringing you all of the details as they come through. But for now, it is time for another break on the show. When we come back, we're going to focus on Silicon Valley, get you all of the big earnings that came through. Stay with us.
पिछले 6 सालों से हर रोज यही हो रहा है। ये वो SIP है जो चौधरी साहब अपनी बेटी के लिए कर रहे हैं। जब जिंदगी जीने का तरीका ही SIP है, तो जिंदगी के लिए SIP क्यों ना हो?
An investor education initiative by HDFC Mutual Fund. Mutual Fund निवेश बाजार के जोखिमों के अधीन है। योजना से जुड़े सभी दस्तावेजों को ध्यान से पढ़ें।
हमारी प्रार्थना होगी स्वीकार। Zedblock Premium Agarbatti and Dhoop, official prayer partner, Delhi Capitals.
100% happiness with SBI Home Loans. Zero processing fee at 8.50% onwards. Apply today. Call 1800112018. Visit homeloans.sbi.
A. Balasubramanian decodes the investment space for retail investors and draws out the do's and don'ts on how to grow wealth by goal-based investing through mutual funds. Watch all this and more on Mutual Funds Sahi Hai. Give wings to your savings in association with News 18 Network at these times.
गुणवत्ता की बात चली है, एक नई शुरुआत मिली है, परिवर्तन को गले लगाकर अपनाएंगे Z। प्रोडक्शन भरपूर बढ़ेगा, प्रॉफिट भी अब खूब चढ़ेगा, काम को नई दिशा दिखाकर अपनाएंगे Z। चलो देश का रूप निखारें, पर्यावरण को हम ही संवारें, प्रदूषण से बचाने को अपनाएंगे.
Register with Ministry of MSME's set certification scheme today and help India become a global manufacturing hub.
कैसे करते हैं ट्रेड? ट्राई 5 पैसा. ऑर्डर छोटा हो या बड़ा या कार्ट में बड़ा, कोई वैल्यू या सेगमेंट या कोई भी टाइप, ब्रोकरेज को लेकर अब नो मोर हाई. और सुन, 2 लाख के स्टॉक्स या 2000, इन्वेस्ट मर्जी से करो यार. ना लगे कैलकुलेटर, ना लगेगा पेन. अल्ट्रा ट्रेडर पैक से होगा ब्रोकरेज सिर्फ ₹10.
कमीशन की टेंशन छोड़ो, 5 पैसा से रिश्ता जोड़ो. विद 5 पैसा's अल्ट्रा ट्रेडर पैक, ब्रोकरेज होगी सिर्फ ₹10 फ्लैट. बीट दैट.
ऐसे करते हैं ट्रेड. सोच मत छोटे, इंस्टॉल मार.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risk. Read all related documents carefully before investing.
Welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch, and let's now talk about some important global market updates as well. We had Google's parent company, that's Alphabet, as well as Microsoft, which surged in after-hours trading after the companies reported their earnings after the bell. We have CNBC's Will Coloris, who's here to bring us a wrap of how the earnings really looked this time around. Will.
Let's take a look at Alphabet. So they came off by 2%. In the session, they actually jumped by around about 1.6% in the after hours. So net-net, it wasn't necessarily recapturing all that they had indeed lost, but their revenues were strong, particularly on the services side. They beat out by around about $1.5 billion. Their operating income also strong. Their capex came off, and their free cash flow was also much higher than expectations, probably a function of the FCF coming off in terms of estimates by around about $2 billion. But AI is the story, and here's a little bit of what Sundar Pichai had to say about just that.
We have significant multi-year efforts underway to create savings, such as improving machine utilization and finding more scalable and efficient ways to train and serve machine learning models. We are making our data centers more efficient, redistributing workloads and equipment where servers aren't being fully used. This is important work as we continue to significantly invest in infrastructure to drive our many AI opportunities.
And from one infrastructure spender to another, Microsoft also reporting their numbers. They flagged that they're going to be investing more when it does come to AI, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park in terms of a lot of the comps. As you can see here, these are their revenue expectations moving forward, also primarily ahead of the street. A little bit of softness when it does come to the Azure revenue growth on a constant currency basis, and there was a slight miss in terms of that when it came to this quarter as well. But as you can see by the after-hours action, people were buying into Microsoft.
All right, Bill, thanks a lot for getting us all of those details from Alphabet and Microsoft's earnings. It is on the back of these earnings coming in better than expected that we saw the futures really pick up even after quite a poor session on Wall Street. But those are the big earnings. Staying with the U.S., we also have President Joe Biden, who has formally announced that he is running for re-election in 2024 and is asking voters to give him more time to finish this job. Remember, if Biden wins the second term, he would extend his streak as the oldest person to sit in office. We have NBC's Peter Alexander, who filed the special report.
President Biden asking Americans for another 4 years, making a pitch to union members in Washington.
On my watch, infrastructure has become a decade headline. A decade.
Earlier, announcing another campaign in this video.
This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
Highlighting his views on abortion, voting, and LGBTQ rights, while zeroing in on Republican opponents, who he never mentions by name.
Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. The MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms.
And touting this theme.
Let's finish this job. I know we can.
Still, our NBC News poll shows only 41% of Americans approve of the job President Biden is doing. 54% disapprove. The president's move setting up a possible rematch with former President Trump, posting this response.
With such a calamitous and failed presidency, it is almost inconceivable that Biden would even think of running for re-election.
70% of Americans say they don't want President Biden to run for re-election, including most Democrats. But 60% of Americans say they don't want Mr. Trump to run again either. In battleground Pennsylvania, the critical Philly suburbs, we found voters like small business owner Dora Rieta exasperated by the possibility of another Biden-Trump showdown.
What do you make of that rematch?
A mess. A mess.
Why?
I think they both are very extreme, and I think we need someone that's kind of in the middle.
Cafe owner Christine Hicks strongly supports President Biden because she says he'll protect abortion rights.
For my granddaughter, I want her to have choice, and it is upsetting to know that she has less choices now than we did.
But she's less supportive of Vice President Kamala Harris, who's featured prominently in today's video.
I don't think I would vote for Kamala if she was running for president, but she's, she supports him, and I think it's a good thing.
Independent Larry Largest, a painter, is frustrated by high inflation.
Are you satisfied with the economy these days?
No, I'm really not. Prices are going up, rent's going up, food's going up, my wages aren't going up.
And echoing what polls say many are concerned about, President Biden's age. He'd be 86 at the end of a second term.
I think he's getting a little long in the tooth. He's getting a little bit old, and I have some concerns on his mental faculties.
But retired truck driver Mike Lowry tells us he's not worried.
I'm 72 years old.
You look good.
There you go. I rest my case. So it looks good. It looks good for an 80-year-old man.
That is U.S. President Joe Biden announcing that he is officially running for re-election in 2024, and some opinion also that is coming through on that. By the way, news on KPIT Tech, they've announced a final dividend, 2.65 per share. The stock is running up. It has anyway been on an up move, around 25% up in this year alone. But with that, another important story that we're tracking, and we have been bringing you details on this as the fighting continues to rage on in Sudan. 3 batches carrying Indians stranded in Sudan had now been brought back under Operation Kaveri. In fact, sources tell CNBC-TV18 that around 534 Indian nationals have been brought back so far, with several other people also expected to be brought back later this afternoon. 2 Indian Air Force aircrafts and 1 Navy ship are also stationed at Port Sudan, and the focus of the government remains to bring people out of the capital city of Khartoum, which continues to see clashes despite a ceasefire brokered by the United States. So that is the latest on Operation Kaveri as well as the Sudan situation. With that, we are out of time on this edition of Business Lunch. We'll wind down with the markets as flat as it gets, 6 points in the green for the Nifty. The Nifty Bank absolutely flat. Thanks for tuning in. Midcap Radar when we come back.